but some kind of way she would put the fictional piece with her characters in there and blend it like seamlessly, making you think that these are real people. Ezra is a whole real person, okay? Just... Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another book review. Oh my goodness. I've read so many books like over the past couple of weeks, but I had like the last two videos, they were already scheduled and I didn't feel like going in and changing anything. So the next like few weeks, I'm gonna be like giving you guys like book reviews, more book reviews. I know I've only done like a few, I think, on the channel so far, but we're about to get into the thick of things before I head off on a European vacation, which I'll tell you more about that later. But today I am so excited to talk about this book today. The book is A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. So, I know I have mentioned ad nauseum on the channel about how I am such a fan of Tia Williams's work. I have been a fan since like she wrote this beauty blog back in the day called Shake Your Beauty. And I even read her young adult, her YA novel that she wrote. And I had, it was back in 2008. That's when it came out, 16 Candles. The woman is just like a beast when it comes to writing. She just, I love her writing style, the voice, the characters, the witty banter, the pop culture references. And like I've said before, I don't know if it's because we're in the same generation. A lot of her stuff seems relatable. And even when she, writes younger characters, all of them have like this old soul or really mature vibe about them, just like she did with Eric in The Perfect Find, and even in Love Song for Ricki Wilde. Although one of the characters, she was writing present day and he was from another time, it was immaculate. Okay, but let me stop because I'm jumping way far ahead. Okay, so first of all, get into that cover. Get into that cover. A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. I think I mentioned in another video, or maybe a video that's coming up because I got some stuff out of order, how, and I feel ashamed to say this, initially when she had talked about the premise of this book, I was not feeling it. I was like, what in the what? What you're doing what with these characters? And I guess I had something else in mind that I thought she was going to be doing. And it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't sound right to me, right? Because I was so used to the way that she's written in the past and books that I've read by her, like 7 Days in June, oh my God, that was such an amazing book as well. And so I wasn't as excited as I should have been about this release. Then I read an excerpt. And it wasn't even the little saucy one that was in the, I think, Cosmo or Vogue or something. This was actually on the library. I think it was like the first 2 chapters or something. And I was intrigued. And I was like, okay, I don't think this is what I thought it was going to be. Let me do this. Let me dive in and trust Tia because she's never let me down. And when I tell y'all, okay, so I'm trying to get my thoughts together here because I think I did the same thing on 7 Days in June. I was so excited and overwhelmed that I was just like, and it was a mess when I got to talking about it. I'm trying to see how I can give a concise yet accurate like little description of what this book is about. Okay, so the title, let's look at that. So what that alludes to, there is a young woman, she's 28 years old, and her name is Ricki Wilde. And in true eclectic fashion, because Tia never does anything like just plain, right? Ricki is actually named after her father. So her real name is Richard Jr. Because her parents thought they were going to have a boy. But from the moment Ricki entered the world, she has never met the expectations set for her. She's from a well-to-do family with 3 older sisters who just rag on her all the time, and she's like the disappointment in the family because they're so prim and proper and follow this template, and she's like the wild child, I guess. How apropos with the last name. I wonder if that was intentional for her to do that, you know, Tia Williams to use that last name. Anyway, you know, the family, they I think they're in the funeral business, right? So they own all these funeral homes, and like I said, very wealthy, just very rigid in what they think should be done and how they should behave and act, you know. The mother, she has a drinking problem. The father rules kind of with a heavy hand, and like I said, the sisters, they're just following in line, and I think they have resentment because Ricki, she's not having it. So she leaves the family business and leaves her family behind. They're all in Atlanta or somewhere in Georgia. And she goes up to Harlem, and she has a love for nature and flowers. And so she wants to open up her own flower shop, but not just any flower shop. Like, she wants to do these ornate, you know, arrangements and all this stuff. And she just feels like Harlem is a good place to go to kind of start over, to get away from her family name. And not to mention, she also has like this thing about, you know, the past and thinking about Harlem in its heyday, during the Harlem Renaissance, you know, when Black people were there making a name for themselves in music and art and things like that. And so she goes there, she meets this older woman whose husband has passed away. And because he comes to their family's funeral home. Anyway, that's how she got the connection and ended up in Harlem. She has a shop that she opens in an abandoned brownstone, and she calls it Wild Things. So that's the female character in the book. The male character, that's when we're transported back to 1923, right? When we first meet him, Breeze Walker is what they call him. His real name is Ezra, named after his father, but they call him Breeze because, you know, he's playing the piano like a breeze has come through or something like that, she mentioned in the book. But he's a musician, and he leaves, you know, South Carolina, country boy, sharecropper, you know, from a sharecropper family. He had a tragic thing happen to his family. So he goes up to Harlem in the, you know, 1920s, 1923 to be exact. And at the time, he's 23 years old, to start a new life. So we get that story, the beginnings of that story. And you're wondering, how the hell, like, what's going to happen? And I thought that it was going to be some type of time travel weirdness or whatever going on. And I just didn't know how I felt about her doing that, even though I have read books like that. I didn't, you know, I didn't want to do that with Tia Williams' book. But it wasn't time travel, you see. One that Ricki goes to this park near a community like park or whatever, not too far from her flower shop. And there's this plaque like saying that this was once the site of, because, you know, apparently in Harlem there's a lot of those because so much stuff, you know, was there and so many people. And even though they've built bodegas and coffee shops and high rises and parking lots over all these old, you know, establishments, there's still markers to let people know this is where it was. And it has a thing saying that there was a club there, the Eden Club, and that, you know, it burnt down, and here are the dates or whatever. And it was like in the 20s. Okay. So now you're kind of like, okay, like, so now what? Still, how are these two, how are they going to meet? What's going to happen here? And that night when she gets ready to leave, she sees this man who we will find out later is Breeze, aka Ezra. And initially I thought, okay, has he come through a portal? Like where the plaque is? Is he like got one foot in and one foot out? What's happening? No, it wasn't none of that. I thought it was very clever the way that he came to be in the present. Okay. I have read similar stories with that device, but this was a different twist on it. I was kind of getting the Invisible Life of Addie LaRue type thing, so keep that in mind. But there was another twist to it, like how he got to still be his age in 2024 that he was back in 1928, because he's also 28 now. So we go back and forth, present day into Ezra's past, and learn that he ended up being 28 when this thing happened to him that has left him essentially immortal. Essentially immortal, not unlike Addie LaRue, right? And the thing that, you know, Tia Williams is known for, she writes these characters, these male and female characters with such just incredible chemistry that it is just, you know, making the pages melt type thing. And it was no exception in A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. It was like they were magnets, even when they were like, we need to avoid each other, and didn't even, well, he knew why she should avoid him, but she really didn't know. But she could tell, like, I am feeling way too much for this person whose name I don't even know. I need to stay away from him. But every time she would go somewhere, like, he would be there. And not even intentionally, it was just like the Earth's gravitational pull was pulling them together. And it was done in such a way that it was very believable. The thing that I absolutely loved about this book, I am a sucker for like witty banter, you know, the back and forth and the quickness. I live for that. And I never really do this with any books but hers. Like, I'm not a page flagger. You know, I highlight stuff in self-help books, you know, quotes that I want to like come back to. And I've been known to like highlight on my Kindle if it's something funny or whatever, or maybe a reference. I'm like, is that a real thing? Let me go check that out. But this woman, I keep the flags with me. I keep the page flags with me because I know she's gonna drop something that just makes me laugh out loud. I'm walking through my house because, you know, I walk and read, and there was the bottomless brunch, like legitimately, I laughed out loud. Legitimately. My kids were like, what's so funny? Because they were talking, I think they thought I was, you know, listening to them, and I was laughing at them. I don't even know what they were saying. I was too engrossed in this book. It's just also like her ability to make you feel like you're a part of the story. The imagery is just palpable. The way she always manages to like combine fiction with fact. Like there were different things where she would talk about, you know, how these musicians that Ezra worked with, you know, over the years, and it would be, you know, like stuff that makes you go, that sounds like that could be plausible. Like how Jimi Hendrix got the idea for Voodoo Child, okay? Or how Ray Charles had a problem playing with one of his hands, and he showed him how to do it the right way. You know, it's just, and she would mention songs and places and events that are actually real, but some kind of way she would put the fictional piece with her characters in there and blend it like seamlessly, making you think that these are real people. Ezra is a whole real person, okay? It was just incredible. I loved her friend Tuesday. She was a riot, a real riot. Her surrogate grandmother, Della. There was a twist with the Della in there. And when I realized what was happening, like when we got to that chapter, I mean, I was like, don't tell me this is, you know, and that's what it was. I love books that make you, run the gamut of emotions. And it's not a lot of books that do that for me. I mean, I got teary-eyed. I was laughing out loud, having moments where you have to fan yourself. moments where you feel like you learn something new. That doesn't happen a lot in fiction books. And she always manages to deliver on that front. And I also feel like at the heart of the book, not only was this, obvious love story between Ricki and Ezra, but I think it was a love letter to Harlem. It was a love letter to, Harlem and to the Harlem Renaissance. And I think it's so appropriate that it came out in the month of February during Black History Month. And in the book, it takes place in February, like present day, 2024, and it's a leap year. So it's so appropriate because there's some commentary in here about, Black people in our history in this country. There's, reverence and reference to a lot of our Black, legends and history makers. So it's just, and it's, none of it feels contrite. None of it feels forced. None of it feels out of place. It is just a super job. Just a super job. I just can't say enough. I really, really enjoyed it. And one thing I thought was very clever, I thought a lot of the stuff she did was clever. I stayed up late reading the book, and I got the book the day it came out, and I was finished like the next day. So this is actually being recorded later than actually when I read it. But it didn't hit me. Something hit me when I was driving my daughter to school. So, Ricki, she's a flower shop owner, right? And Ezra has this condition, right? And his condition, people like him are known as perennials. And that's a whole flower term, but it makes sense, right? Because when you think about what a perennial is, I mean, obviously it's a term used for a flower, but I'm gonna read the definition. Lasting for a long or apparently infinite time, enduring or continually recurring. And that, those are like flowers that, you can plant them through any season and they're going to bloom and grow. Well, to call people like him, because he wasn't the only one, a perennial, someone who is basically immortal, can't be wounded, can't be killed, to make that tie-in, I feel so dumb that I just got that. I mean, I knew, because Ricki made reference to it in the book, but I was just when I thought about what the definition of the word, it's that would be a perfect way to, describe or say something about someone who, is an immortal person or whatever. But anyway, y'all got me rambling now, or I got myself rambling. There's an epilogue. As a general rule, I'm okay with epilogues. I don't always think they're necessary. But in this case, I think it was good, and it added a little extra because, it just solidified some things that maybe you were hoping for the characters, right? I just can't say enough about this book, y'all. Oh, and one last thing, something else that she did in here is she brought back, well, not really brought him back. She had a small, maybe a page or so in the book, but she brought back Eva Mercy, who was the main character in 7 Days in June. There was a nod to her in this book, and Ricki went to a book signing to ask her a question, right? Just like in 7 Days in June, she brought in Jenna, who was in The Perfect Find. So I love little Easter eggs like that. So that was cute to see that in a love song for Ricki Wilde. But yeah, just kudos, bravo, throws confetti and all that stuff. I can't think of anything. Like I said, I mean, I feel like because of the way it ended, we needed the epilogue probably to just flush some stuff out. But if there would have been another paragraph maybe or another page or so after that ending, then we probably wouldn't have needed the epilogue. But either way, I'm fine with it. The more I can read from her, the better. So yeah, A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by the incomparable Tia Williams. I'm like 2 weeks behind posting this video. So I know that a lot of you have already read it and probably have already discussed it, but let me know in the comments what you thought. Like, am I overhyping it? Impossible, but I'll respect your opinion if you want to say something in the comments below, but there will be no Tia Williams bashing here, okay? But seriously, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Make sure that you like this video, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that now, okay? You just do not want to miss any more of my ramblings and my exuberance as I discuss books from this point on out. And if you think someone else maybe would like my content, be sure to share it with them, okay? Great. Thanks again for watching. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week with another book review. Bye.